This is the new 2024 Ford F-250 Super Duty, and it's a lot. A lot of truck, a lot of capability, a lot of power, and a lot of money. This one has a sticker price of more than $90,000. Today, I'm going to review this new F-250 and show you what you get when you spend almost six figures on a truck. Today's video is sponsored by Cars and Bids, which is my online car auction website for modern enthusiast cars. So far, Cars and Bids has sold almost $500 million worth of cars, all sorts of special, interesting stuff like this, and this, and this, and this. So, if you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car, do it at carsandbids.com. All right, time for the quirks and features of the new Super Duty King Ranch. And I'm going to start with an overview. This vehicle was fully redesigned for the 23 model year, last year. Completely full redesign, but you wouldn't really know it from looking at it. The Super Duty looks fairly similar to the outgoing model. Not a whole lot of change. More on that later. The big important stuff with the Super Duty, though, is under the hood. And here you have a choice between a few engines. Base model is a 6.8 liter gas V8 with about 400 horsepower. Or you can upgrade to a bigger gas V8, 7.3 liters at about 430 horsepower. But the engine you really want is the one this truck has. 6.7 liter power stroke diesel that makes 475 horsepower and 1,050 pound-feet of torque. And that's the entry-level diesel engine. You can get a boosted version that has 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. Absolutely massive figures. You really want to go with the diesel to maximize your capability. Now, on the new Super Duty, all of them come with four-wheel drive, except for the very base model XL work truck entry-level version. Otherwise, four-wheel drive is standard, and towing capacity ranges from 13,700 pounds, which is acceptable, up to 40,000 pounds in the maximum version. 40,000 pounds. This truck can tow 5 of itself. So there's a huge variation in engine performance and towing capacity, and there's also a massive variation in pricing because different customers can want vastly different things out of their Super Duty. Some people just want a base model work truck they use on their job site, the cheapest thing possible, and some people use this as an ultra luxury family vehicle and a truck in one. So there's a wide array of pricing. The base model F-250 XL starts around $47,000. The top version, the top trim, the limited, starts around $99,000, double the price of the base model. This version, the King Ranch, which sounds all luxurious and high-end, it's actually the third trim level down from the top. There's limited, platinum, and then King Ranch. This truck starts around $80,000, although this particular one is configured to around a $94,000 sticker price. So what do you get when you spend $94,000 on a truck? Well, we start by getting inside, and the truck makes that easy for you because it has power running boards that deploy automatically, electronically, when you go to climb inside. It's tall getting in this truck, but it makes it easier with an automated deploying step to let you climb in. Now, once you get inside and close the door, the power running boards automatically retract back into the truck so they don't catch on something while you're driving around, but an electronic step to climb in. And it gets more luxurious from there. So climb into the $94,000 F-250 King Ranch, and you see a very luxurious truck with kind of a Western motif. On the door panels, a lot of brown leather with nice contrasting stitching and piping. As you can see, it all looks really nice. There's also a lot of aluminum trim on the door panels and a flat wood that looks, well, really good. You get in further and you can see the seats. Again, very nice brown Western motif leather, perforated as you can see, and a lot of nice stitching and piping all throughout. On the dashboard, there's this beautiful brushed aluminum going across the whole thing that also looks great. Very luxury car-esque and surprisingly nice for a pickup truck. And then you have an enormous amount of King Ranch branding. Okay, this is the King Ranch logo. You can see it here on the back. It says King Ranch, that's the logo. And boy, do they put it everywhere. On the interior, you have it. On the side of the headrest, King Ranch. On the seat back, King Ranch. On the center console lid, King Ranch. You have it on the floor mats, King Ranch. You have it on the steering wheel, King Ranch. You have it on this cover for a center console storage lid, King Ranch. You have it on the door panel, King Ranch. You have it on the door sill, King Ranch. Could they possibly find any more places to put a King Ranch logo? The answer is yes. This trim on the passenger dashboard is the King Ranch logo, just repeated a bunch of times. You have to look closely, but that's what it is. There's even an image of the King Ranch, a building, and then some trees on the King Ranch here on the passenger side of the dashboard. And do you want to know something? All these King Ranch logos, I actually kind of like it. I think the logo is cool. They do a good job of integrating it. It makes the truck seem more like Western luxury, tough luxury, instead of Rolls-Royce luxury. By the way, in case you're wondering what exactly is the King Ranch, it is a giant cattle ranch in Texas that is larger than the state of Rhode Island. One person's property bigger than Rhode Island, and it's a fitting name for a massive truck like this. Although, with updates for the new 23-24 model year Super Duty, this truck doesn't quite feel so massive as it once did. Now, to be clear, it is absolutely massive. It's like 20 feet long, it's huge, but there's some great technology that kind of makes it seem smaller, starting with the cameras. This truck has an unbelievable amount of camera angles that show it from basically anywhere. You can see all the different angles, all the different views you have all around the truck. There's cameras on top of cameras on top of cameras. From the top-down camera, you can also zoom into any corner and see precisely where the truck is placed. There's even a camera looking into the bed so you can monitor your cargo while you're driving. Actually, this would be for setting up the position for a fifth-wheel gooseneck trailer, but you can also monitor your cargo while you're driving. Cameras everywhere. They make the truck seem smaller because it's just easier to park when you can see every inch of it. You also benefit from a larger screen in the new Super Duty. This center screen is bigger than in previous Ford Super Duty trucks, and that means you see the cameras larger, which also makes the truck seem easier to maneuver and park. And then Ford has a new feature called Pro Trailer Hitch Assist, where the truck will actually back itself up to a trailer and align itself perfectly to make it easier to set up and hook up to a trailer. Ford says that 90% of Super Duty customers tow with their trucks, and so that feature will be welcome and make the truck seem easier to maneuver. Ford is also offering a new feature in the navigation system, a trailer navigation feature that allows you to pick a trailer-friendly route if you're going somewhere. And that way, if you're towing some long thing, it won't send you down curvy, narrow, tight roads. It'll give you a more maneuverable way to get there, which is a cool idea. Big truck drivers have been using trailer-friendly navigation for years. And next up, another feature that makes this truck a little bit easier to drive is a heads-up display. You can see it projecting onto the windshield here. This is a new feature for the new Super Duty. They haven't offered it before, but it's here now, and it just adds to the convenience. And then there's my personal favorite new upgrade, and that would be on the top of the tailgate, you have parking sensors. So if you're trying to back up with the tailgate down, now you have parking sensors on the tailgate that'll tell you how far you are from something, and there's even a camera here. So the backup camera doesn't drop down with the tailgate. Now you have another camera looking behind you, even if you're backing up with the tailgate down. It's brilliant, and it's very helpful for for people who want to use this truck as intended. And there's more stuff to talk about in this interior. A lot of interesting and clever ideas. This open panel in the center console, I believe, is for devices, smartphones, iPads. You can stick them here and then they're propped up so you have access to look at them while you're parked somewhere on a job site. Directly behind that, this panel with a nice flat wood and the King Ranch logo, you open that up for charging access. You have charge ports in here and also a wireless cell phone charger. And a great feature of this truck, you also have a household style power outlet up front, so you can plug in your toaster and have it make toast while you drive along. Maybe. Now, another interesting item here in the center console, this little plastic piece that goes over the cup holders. You can see it has logos on each side, one with 4 circles and one with, well, it looks like a face, 2 circles at an open area. That's supposed to show what this piece does. So if you move it over to the left, now you have 4 cup holders, which matches the 4 circles printed on the piece. If you move it to the right, you have 2 circles, 2 cup holders, and then a larger open storage compartment next to that. And you can adjust whether you want the larger compartment or your 4 cup holders. You can choose at will. You also have a little graphic here that says F-Series, established 1948. A little Easter egg. They don't want Jeep to get away with having all of the pride inside their vehicles, so we have this in this truck. Adding to the practicality of this new Super Duty, on the ceiling you have these switches, aux 1, aux 2, aux 3, all the way through 6. These are called upfitter switches, and they are pre-wired in case you want to add stuff to this truck. So for example, you want to mount a winch on the front of the truck. To give power to it, you can just hook it up to one of these switches instead of installing some ugly aftermarket switch on the dashboard. Same deal with extra driving lights or various other power components in the Super Duty. This truck also offers 2 glove boxes. You have your standard one here, you can open, pretty big, a lot of space for stuff, but above that you press this button and the upper glove box opens, and then you have, well, even more space for stuff. And even more adding to convenience and comfort, the upper portion of the seats, the backrest, can be adjusted. You can move this out for more upper body support or for less, depending on what is most comfortable to you, which is obviously nice to have. And moving back to the center control stack, the buttons are all fairly self-explanatory except for this one, which has like some gases in a circle. That turns on the engine braking function. So if you don't want to ride your brakes while you're going down a hill, you can press that, turn on your engine braking, and it'll automatically slow you down a little bit more than usual, and so it won't burn out your brakes. Especially useful if you're carrying a heavy trailer, which can put even more stress on those brakes going downhill. But on the subject of this center control stack, the infotainment system. Like I said, a massive screen for this, bigger than before, and it's great. Like I've mentioned in other Ford reviews, this is a fantastic infotainment system, easy to use, easy to figure out, intuitive, responds to your touch, and I love the split screen. You can see here I'm on the music, and on the other third of the screen, there's the navigation map, or whatever you want. You can configure this side of the screen to show a large number of different things in case you want to see 2 different items displayed at once. You can even have it show the camera looking into your bed while you also have something else displayed on the main screen, which is a pretty neat and useful feature. The gauge cluster screen, unfortunately, not quite as configurable. You can't do a full screen map there or various other full screen, split screen dimensions, but you do have the ability to see various in-car information that can be useful to you as you drive along in your Super Duty, and in that sense, it's reasonably configurable. Still wish for more though. Now, one other item worth pointing out up here is the driver assist technology. You can see the buttons to turn it on the steering wheel. This truck doesn't just have adaptive cruise, it also has automated steering, but I have to say, it's really not all that great. It does steer around wide, long, sweeping highway curves, but tighter ones, it gets lost, it won't do it, and this is a pretty heavy truck to suddenly go into the other lane on a tight curve. Also, it won't automatically lane change for you, and the steering wheel isn't capacitive touch, which means you gotta jiggle it to let the truck know that you're still paying attention, so you gotta babysit it a little bit more than you'd like. On long distance drives through Texas, like people use this truck for, car, it'll probably be just fine. But if you're using it around town on crowded freeways that have more turns, you're probably not going to use it as much. And next up, we move on to the back seat in this Super Duty, this crew cab truck. Back here, it is absolutely huge. A massive rear seat situation. You could easily use this as a family car to transport your whole family, or as a limousine to transport pampered rear seat passengers who can lie down in back and enjoy the ride. And it's nice back here. You have the same high quality brown leather. You can see on the door panel, nice flat wood trim. You got perforated leather, nice contrasting stitching, piping. Everything looks great. You even have the same brushed aluminum trim back here that you had on the dashboard. You can see it, the back of the front center console. It looks good surrounding the rear climate vents. It's just nice back here. And a few luxury features too. You got heated rear seats, which is nice to see, and a lot of different power port options. USB-C chargers, you got 2 of them, and below that, a cigarette-style power port and another household charger, so you can power another toaster in the back seat if you don't want to use the toast that the front seat people made. Maybe you want a waffle. You can do that. Anyway, the only real drawback back here that I can see, I wish there were more cup holders. You do have 2 on the backs of the front center console where you can stick stuff, but that's basically it. There's more cup holders in this fold down center armrest, but if you have a person seated here in the middle, well, you don't have access to it. And surprisingly, there's no real cup holders in the door panels. Most automakers have implemented some of that in the back seats of their trucks, but not here. You can't really get any sizable cups in there, so you're stuck with just 2. Otherwise, fantastic back seat, nice amenities, and so big. And next we move on to the cargo area tailgate bed situation in the new Super Duty, where we start with a fantastic luxury. This tailgate is power operated. You want it to go up, just tap a button on the key fob, and then it pops up automatically, electronically. You don't have to do anything. You want it to go back down, push the same button, and guess what? It automatically extends, so you don't actually have to do any real work to get into the back of your pickup truck bed. And there's a lot of other cool stuff back here. On the back of the tailgate, you can see a ruler in both inches and millimeters in case you need to measure something on the job site. You don't have anything handy, well, you can use your truck. There's also a step to get into the bed back here. Press this button on the top of the tailgate and a step extends out. And there's even a pole that comes out that you can use as a railing to help lift yourself into the truck bed. In fact, there are several steps to get into the bed of this truck. You can see one here on the rear corner. You can stick your foot in there and then climb into the bed or reach in to adjust stuff. And there's even one on the side of the truck. You can do the same thing. Climb up, reach in, lean over, and get into the bed. Now, a few things about the bed worth pointing out. For one, this truck has a cover over the bed, as you can see. This is called a tonneau cover, which is a factory option you can get on your truck, and then you have a locking bed. You have to open this little panel, and then you stick in a special key to unlock the cover and open it to give yourself access to the bed. Now, once you open it, a couple of interesting things. For one, power outlets. This truck has Ford Pro Power on board, which means it can power stuff from the bed and use the truck's power for tools or whatever you need on the job site. Also, if you get a Super Duty, you're probably going to want to load this thing up with stuff and use it to its fullest capabilities. You might be wondering, how do you know when the bed is full, when the payload capacity is reached? The answer is onboard scales. Go into the infotainment system, there is a scale that shows you exactly how much stuff, how much weight you've put into the bed, and it'll even show you when you're getting close to the maximum payload so you don't put any more in back. Other than that, as for exterior stuff for this truck, there's not all that much to discuss because, like I said, the truck doesn't really look all that different from before. It looks a lot like the old Super Duty, and I think only real Super Duty fans are going to be able to tell it apart from the outside. Inside, a lot of new features, some extra capability, more tech, but when you look at it, it just looks like a Super Duty. Not much has changed out here. All right, driving the Super Duty, and I mean super. You know, every time I watch a video review of one of these trucks, it's always done by a car YouTuber who doesn't spend a lot of time in big trucks, and they're always astonished by the size of these things. And I am, in fact, astonished by the size of this truck. It's just always crazy when you go from regular cars to a massive truck like this, especially when you live in a place that isn't configured for a massive truck like this. You know, you see these trucks when you go to rural Texas, they're basically in every driveway. long driveway. And it's not all that surprising because they got big roads, long distances, they're doing work stuff. They've all got heavy duty Rams and, you know, Silverados and Super Duty Fords. But around town, you know, every time I get in one of these, I'm surprised that there are so many people who are willing to use them because they're kind of hard to deal with in normal situations. Like, it's a big vehicle. But then again, that's why a lot of people are buying it. So let's talk through some of the benefits. I mean, one is you just get this incredible seating position. You are up high. You are literally the king of the road. You're sitting here and you can see over everything and everyone. And it gives you this, like, nobody can handle, nobody can beat me kind of position. The other benefit is this truck really does offer a lot. Despite the fact that it's ridiculously expensive, $94,000, this thing can tow 30,000 some pounds. It has heated seats, cooled seats, heated steering wheel, adaptive cruise with driver assist, a 12-inch center screen, navigation, Apple CarPlay, all this nice leather and aluminum trim everywhere. Yeah, it doesn't ride like a Mercedes S-Class, but like, this truck does a lot. Like, it is very capable and it is very nice. And it's pretty impressive to be able to do all of that stuff in one vehicle. And it's surprisingly quick. I mean, I'm flooring it here and I am always stunned by how quick these big Super Duty trucks are. Because at the end of the day, even though their power is designed to be there for towing and hauling, it's also there when you're not towing and hauling. And as a result, it moves. Vroom! Here's the US Navy's Super Duty truck. Painted green. Not as cool as mine. So let's talk about the ride quality for a second, because to me, that is one of the drawbacks. You know, as nice and as luxurious as they've been able to make these trucks, they've never really been able to make them ride all that well. You still have this truck-like body-on-frame, live axle feel. It just feels like a old school bumpy thing. When you're cruising along on the freeway, it's really not that big of a deal, but any bumps you go over, you sort of wince before you get to them. You can definitely feel them, and they're definitely pretty significant, even in spite of the fact that this is a luxury version of this truck. If you want the capabilities off-road, towing, hauling, that's the trade-off. Truly, from a driving perspective, it's not dramatically different from the outgoing Super Duty. Like I said, it looks about the same, and that's certainly the case, but it's not just that. You also have sort of the driving feel, the driving position, the acceleration, and the powertrain is the same, more or less carried over. Like, there's not an enormous amount of difference for this version of the Super Duty, and it's not dramatically better, I would say. Not that the old one needed to be changed, whatever. It was a big, full-size, heavy-duty truck, and now this new one is a big, full-size, heavy-duty truck, and it drives like that and it feels like that, just like you'd expect. No real differences here, except for the fact that you have a little bit more technology in this interior. You got a larger screen and the ability to just do a little bit more stuff with what you have. I mean, overall, if you're used to driving a heavy-duty pickup, a giant heavy-duty pickup, this will not be any different for you. This will not feel any more surprising. It's got a few more nice features. It's got some stuff that makes it, like I said, feel smaller, feel more manageable, maneuverable. But from a driving perspective, accelerating, steering, ride quality, it's all the same big old Super Duty, just a little bit more refined and a little bit more convenient now. It's just a big truck with a lot of capability and an increasingly massive price tag. And the Super Duty does this as well as anybody, just the big truck, big capability game. And they're gonna sell a huge number of these, and a lot of them are gonna be used for huge duties. And so that's the new 2024 Ford F-250 King Ranch. This truck absolutely isn't for everybody. It's massive, it's powerful, it's expensive, but if you're in that sliver of people who need a serious truck for serious capabilities, this thing's got it. And it has an impressive array of luxury car amenities too. And now it's time to give the new Super Duty a DougScore. And the DougScore is here, 48 out of 100, which places the new F-250 King Ranch here against rival full-size and heavy-duty trucks. There's a lot to like about the new Super Duty, although continued growth in pricing and sizing is a bit of a drawback. Still, that growth comes with ever-increasing capabilities, technology, and luxury that does its best to match the price tag. This is an impressive truck that can really do anything, although I'd avoid it unless you really need a truck that can do anything. If you don't, you're better off skipping Considering the massive size and high cost, and getting an F-150 or even a Ranger, both should work for the vast majority of use cases. But if you need it all, the latest Super Duty delivers.